Hi, I'm Professor Walsh, and welcome to your WRT class with me. I've decided that what we're going to do today is I'm going to do a video recording of some of our administrative things so that we don't have to spend time in class doing that, because I have a lot of other things I'd really prefer to do than review the syllabus. Now, the first thing we're going to go over is a document that is in your syllabus folder called the rules. Here you can see the rules. We can pretty much ignore the assignment format. I've changed a little bit of the length issues. I do use word counts mostly. In my 111, I use page count because it's a little bit easier. However, you do have to meet a minimum page or word requirement, or the document will, or the assignment will not be given full credit. The reason for this is pretty specific. I am a big believer in I work really hard to make the assignments have a certain objective. And that includes having edits, having quotes, having introductions, having good arguments, having your logic. All of those are really important to me. And so therefore, that's always incorporated in the essay or the assignment that I'm giving you. You can see here that there's 10 points down for each page not completed or 100 words not completed. I'm a pretty hard stickler for this, and if you don't have your word count and you're supposed to, then I don't grade your paper until I have the word count. All right. I do not take late submissions, ever, not once, unless you have an ADA requirement and have gone to the student services people and something happens like that. So you do have to provide me documentation. Here's the problem. I have probably 60 students. If I let each of those 60 students have an extension anytime they want it or need it, or for lack of planning or whatever, then what happens is I lose track of who got an extension when. Assignments don't get submitted. People say it's my fault for not reminding them. And truthfully, I have tons of scheduling that I do in here and outside of here. So I just need to keep everything where it is. So you have two ways that you can submit things. You can either hand them in, hard copy, printed in person, or I usually set up a Google Drive that helps you understand, that helps you submit things electronically. We're going to talk about that as part of this video as well. Right? Electronic submissions are only submitted through the Google Drive folder for the course. Since this semester, I'm setting folders up. Here's the thing. Don't email me your papers. I get hundreds of emails a day from various different places and people, and I can't keep track of things and I lose them. The only thing I ever want you to email me is your blog post URL. Everything else should be submitted through the Google Drive. It's just easier that way. And I'm actually thinking we might try and do something different with the Google Drive this year for the blog post, so stay tuned. I specifically use Google Drive because it timestamps things. All submissions are due at the start of class. Every time an assignment is due, I need to know that it's with you or in the drive at the start of class. Sometimes we're using them during class, but every single assignment should be prepared and ready to go at the start of class. I don't want to see any handwritten assignments because that could entail you doing it in class. I want everything typed, printed, or submitted electronically through the Google Drive. The Google Drive does track timestamping, which means that as soon as you upload it, it puts the time next to it. If you are 5 minutes late, if you are 10 minutes late, if you are an hour late, it is not accepted. Everything should be complete before you come to class. I know that sounds mean, but I want to make sure everybody's clear on what those assignments are. Always be careful. Upload things early. Be aware that sometimes you don't always see something. Make sure that it's on time. Don't wait until the very last minute, no matter how exciting that seems. The adrenaline rush is not as good as getting a 0 would be. Back up your work. Students lose work or tell me they lose work all the time. I understand that things happen. Unfortunately, because of past experiences, I don't count anything that doesn't come in. If you upload something wrong and it's only 1/3 of a paper, all I grade is 1/3 of a paper. If your computer crashed 10 minutes before class and you're finishing up your paper and you lose the whole thing, it's still going to be a 0. Unfortunately, like I've said, I had a lot of students do a lot of things over the course of the 10 years I've been here, and this is just my policy now. We are going to do one Blackboard discussion post. We might have to do more depending on snow days. What I'll do is I'll show you that later in another video as part of the video. We don't have reading response requirements in 111s. We do have blogging. You are going to set up a blog as part of your introduction stuff. You can either use WordPress or Blogger. Blogger is through Google, so it just uses your Google account, which makes it super easy. I'm going to try and show you some of that today. You need to have 5 posts over the course of the semester. Do them over the course of the semester. Don't rush it at the end like a lot of people like to. They have to be at least 650 words. They should be thoughtful. They shouldn't be about what you did over the weekend. They should be sort of something like a music review or an issue on campus or a book you read or an article you saw or something like that. For those posts that are your own ideas, we want to make it something interesting. It's not a personal journal. All right, I do have you guys respond to classmates as well as people outside of your class. The reason for this is I have a very strong belief that what we're seeing right now in the workplace is more online connections and content. So what a lot of people will see of you before they even meet you is your written word. And that's a difficult voice to write, because what happens is it's not as formal as a formal letter or a resume or an academic paper, but it's not informal like, yo, what's up, and text speech. So the problem that I think a lot of students have, and that I had when I first went to the workplace, is being able to write in a way that is a voice that gives you a sense of authority without sounding too formal and kind of awkward. So that's one of the main reasons we have the blogs. Number 2 is, I'm sure everybody's heard it, your brain is a muscle, and the more you practice with the muscle, the more you build it up and the better you get at something. These are basically just right. I count them. I read through them. I count that you did the required number, and then I put it in Blackboard. This is not me looking at your punctuation or your grammar or how well you structure something. It is really just to get you past that, oh my God, writing, I hate writing, I can never write anything I want, this is dumb kind of belief. Third, I think it's really important, especially as we become a more digital world, to understand how to read other people's writing and respond to it appropriately. So you will be reading classmates and non-classmate blogs. You will be posting on your own blog a response to something someone else said. You want to think about how you word things. You want to think about the tone you're using. You want to think about whether you're being respectful or not. I've had students in the past where they disagreed with one another and then they called each other curse words and really inappropriate names on their blogs. Imagine the fact that somebody could come across this and read it and be a boss, a potential boss, or a potential significant other or something like that. And this is the first thing they see of you because it's out there on the internet. Everything is public that you write, so keep that in mind. Pictures and website links are awesome. I encourage them. If you really love working on a blog, and there are certainly jobs out there because I do it that pay decent money for stuff like this, get used to it. Learn how to write stuff that people would want to read and that makes people interested. Go ahead. They're not required. All I require is the text. And they're just graded on whether you did them or not. The cool thing about the blogs, for those of you who are already asking, how can I get extra credit, is that I incorporate your blog posts as part of your grade, and I allow up to 3, count them, 3 extra posts as extra credit towards the end of the semester. So if you write 8 posts, that ends up actually being 3 final points on your grade, which is the difference between, say, an 89 and a 92, or a 79 and an 82, or a 69 and a 72. All right. I'm actually going to walk you through creating a blog while we're sitting here on the video, so we're not going to necessarily talk about that. I do want the blog addresses given to me prior to the end of the 4th class. I think what I'm going to try is accepting them on a Google Sheet so that you can just go in there, pop the URL in, and call it a day. All right. Attendance. Here's the deal. The department doesn't allow us to use attendance towards your grade, so I don't technically take it. However, you can be administratively withdrawn by not showing up for 2 straight weeks, all right? It also does impact your grade because your class participation grade is a good chunk of your final grade. And I make sure we have in-class assignments, and I have ways of finding meaningful feedback and stuff during class time. So you do want to keep that as part of the way you approach the class. Makeup work. I don't do makeup work. It's that simple. You missed something, you missed something, move on. It's a 0, and we don't do makeups. Plagiarism. Don't do it. Most of the time I can tell. In 110, I normally know that you plagiarized because it doesn't make sense because I've picked those readings specifically. In 111, you're doing an independent research project mostly, and we're focusing on the research process. So if it sounds like something that doesn't make sense, I can pretty much figure it out. I give a 0, I tell the department, and I prosecute it. It's that simple. I've done it before, I'll do it again. I've found people hiring others to do their work for them. I will prosecute that as well, and I will bring it to the department, right? Don't plagiarize. It's my pet peeve. It's rude to me because you think I'm too stupid to figure out you did it. It's rude to the people in your class who are working really hard to get a good grade. So that's that. And that was my Facebook. All right. Classroom behavior. While I recognize that this seems kind of dumb, as the saying goes, behind every weird class behavior point, there is a student story. Look, I reserve the right to kick you out if you're late on an ongoing basis. If more than 20 minutes has passed, I will close the door and I will tell you to leave. Being late interrupts the flow of the class. It interrupts your peers. It interrupts me. It's just not cool. If you are late on an ongoing basis, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, figure out how to get yourself to class earlier. If you need to leave home 5-10 minutes early because you're a commuter and there's traffic, keep that in mind. The first time is okay. The second time I start to get a little squishy, and by the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th times, I'm going to just ask you to bounce. Okay? Don't be the person who sits in the back of the classroom by themselves. It's weird and creepy. Try to go to the bathroom ahead of time, although, you don't have to raise your hand and ask me. I don't need to know. Just get up and leave, but try to do it by not like walking across the front of the room where, you interrupt everybody and then everybody knows you're going to the bathroom. I don't even know why the word pagers is on here. Here's the deal. Electronics in the classroom, I don't mind them unless they're distracting to everybody. I know when you're texting, my class is not that funny for you to be laughing at something usually. If you're laughing and chuckling at something and looking at your screen and your fingers aren't moving and you're not typing and your fingers aren't moving and I'm talking about, a thesis statement, I'm pretty sure you're not paying attention to me because my thesis statement lectures aren't that interesting, although they're important. All right. Let's put it this way. If you're looking down at your lap and you're smiling, unless you have something really wrong with your body, I'm pretty sure you're texting, all right? Nobody stares at their lap or other body parts in that general area unless they're not paying attention. Don't do it. I see everybody from where I'm standing in the front of the classroom. It's a really good view, all right? I strongly believe in typing notes. I strongly believe in computers in the classroom. I use mine. I don't mind if you use yours. We do a lot of class work where having your computer or your tablet may be useful. I know that some students use cell phones for these things. As long as you tell me that that's what you're using your cell phone for, I'm pretty cool with it. All right. If somebody's talking, try to listen to them, whether it's me or a peer. It's kind of rude to sit there and have a conversation with your friends while somebody else is talking. And yes, I see it. And most of the time, I ignore it, okay? But that doesn't mean it's not rude. Okay. Y'all, if you fall asleep, I pretty much just ask you to leave. I would like to be napping most days. Everybody likes naps. They're like the best thing ever. But don't do it in front of me in my class. It's my pet peeve. Everybody has one. That's mine. Be polite. The one thing that I have said, and I will say in person as well as on this video, politics and hatred are two different things. I will not accept hatred in my classroom. Don't try to hide some kind of hatred behind politics. I generally try not to talk about politics because I know it can be offensive to people. It does come up, right? But if I feel that another student in the classroom is having a problem because of something you're saying, I will try to ask you to stop politely. There's really no reason for students to feel uncomfortable in a class, and that's kind of just how it is. Here we go. All right. So this syllabus is for a 111 class, which is what I'm teaching this particular semester. All of my syllabi look the same, so you can follow the same general principles, although the grading weighting is different in a 110. And because I'll probably go over that still in person for a lot of you, all right? The first thing you're going to see is how everything is graded, what the different percentages are. You can tell how important I think something is by how much percentage of your grade it counts as. Now we get to the course outline, all right? The course outline is everything you need to know for the rest of the semester. Everything on here is when it's due, what it is, that just is what it is. It is now your responsibility to keep up with what's happening in class. I am a big proponent of if you can be made responsible for your own stuff, then that's fine. Basically, you'll find out because she always shows up on my screensavers. I have a dog. She's 2. She's adorable. She also, you take a dog out on a walk and your dog goes to the bathroom. And then you have to carry the bag of stuff. Here's the deal. I figured out how you can hook that little doggy poop bag onto the back of the dog's collar so that they have to carry their own stuff. If I'm not going to carry my dog's poop, I'm not going to carry yours. It's kind of that simple. Here's the cool thing. This semester, the class that I'm making this video for has nothing on the first day of class. This is your introduction. Hi. I do have some things I'm going to put in the folders on Blackboard. I'm going to walk everybody through where everything is once we're done with going over this. What is due on the day. So this is your homework that comes in on that Tuesday. So January 30th, you need to be able to, January 30th, you will be bringing in issue 2 from Understanding Rhetoric and issue 4 from Understanding Rhetoric, and they are in the web links folder. You'll find them. I'll show you where they are. I'll show you where everything lives. This is what you need to read for this day, which means that what you need to read for the next day, for Tuesday, February 6th, is information literacy. Read sections from This Star Won't Go Out under the web links folder. Okay? Please do me a favor. Try and practice getting the first week, try and make sure you know what's going on. This week, we don't have it on Thursday, but you should know that whatever you have to do is done by Thursday. It was in the email I sent. I don't have patience for people who aren't doing their homework. If I think a class is not doing their homework, I will kick you all out. If you're not prepared, then you don't really need to be in the classroom. The difference between college and high school to me has always been that in high school, you're supposed to be getting something from the teacher. They are giving you something. In college, I am guiding you. So my goal is to guide you through the process of having steps to doing research, having rhetoric knowledge. I guide you. I will give you resources and I will talk to you about them, but part of it is on you to take that responsibility yourself. So while it may seem cruel and mean and horrifyingly awful, if I do see that the entire class is not answering things that should be pretty simple questions, the class will be dismissed. All right. That's pretty much everything I need to go over as far as the syllabus and the rules are concerned. Don't be a jerk is my #1 rule. Be your best self. One of my first years teaching at University of Hartford, I had this student, Brian. And my theory is don't be a Brian. Brian and his friends used to come in late to their class every 2:05 class, and it was distracting. They had practice. They decided practice was more important than classwork, and they would show up late. And one day, Brian wanders in, and his friends look at him, and they call him a fairy. And I said, well, that's not appropriate in my classroom. And they looked at me and they said, well, what do you mean, Professor Walsh? And I said, well, that's a pejorative term, a negative term for homosexual people, and I don't like it. And they looked at me and they chuckled and they said, well, Professor Walsh, what do we just like to fly around sometimes, right? That is not cool behavior. Hopefully, we'll be able to have some fun in class. We'll be able to joke around. We'll be able to, learn some stuff, the whole 9 yards. But at the end of the day, if you're taking kind of that attitude towards things, it's going to be really difficult. Again, with the cell phone thing, I've had the student where I say, please stop texting, and then they put the cell phone down and then they do it from their computer. Again, being respectful is about understanding that other people have needs and have wants, and you have to respect them. All right. So, how does a Google Drive work? This is the #1 question everybody always asks me every semester. So what's going to happen is I am going to take a link. Let's see, where is it? Oh, get a shareable link. And anybody who has this link is going to be able to access it. And this is going to be right on our homepage, on our announcements page in Blackboard. And in fact, I'll do that at the end of all of this. Now, say you are logged into something like your own drive. Okay? You are logged into your own drive, and your drive is, let me see if I can do this. Let's do this way. I have 17 million Google Drives, all right? And your drive is not the one where the folder's at, right? So you do this. You plop your little number in, you put the link in, you click enter, and it sends you to the folder. Assuming your internet is working, which mine clearly decided not to do right now, right? What you do next is you go to here. You should see, but because we're technically on my drive, all right, let me log out of my drive. Okay, so what you're going to see here is I am no longer logged into the drive that created this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to click enter. The Google Drive is going to pop up. Now, if you're not signed into Google, you're going to see this little blue button over here. See the little blue button? You're going to click sign in. You're going to pick the Google account you want to sign into. I am going to use this one. I am going to go into this one. Now, you're still in the folder. Assuming my internet actually works. Okay, there's nothing in here. You are going to go see where it says Spring 2018. You're going to click that little button, that little arrow pointing down, and then you're going to go to this. See where it says Add to My Drive. You click Add to My Drive. You head up to My Drive. And voila, Spring 2018 is in your drive. Anytime that you want to put something in, okay? You are going to do it by dragging and dropping. So for example, if I wanted to put a document in, I would open my Dropbox account or my home files. I would go to, let's use my iCloud Drive. Assuming it opens. Okay, there we go. Spring 2018, here we go. And we have liftoff. You have done something you want to share in the folder. You click on it and you drag it over here. Theoretically, you should have permission because you had the link, but right now it's not working. Of course not. Anyone with link sharing can view. Anyone with link sharing, oops. Anyone with link sharing can edit is what's going to happen. Anything that is actually graded, I do not leave in the Google Drive because that would be a violation of FERPA. So what I end up doing is I download things. So once you've done this, once you've dragged and dropped, you should be set. It should show up in the folder when you look at it the next time. So, and before I don't have it for you, I want to make sure I change those settings. So I prefer Word documents to Google Docs. Google Documents are pain. I can't access them well from the drive that I use things in. You can also download the app that will connect to your Google Drive, and then it just works like a regular hard drive folder, and then you can just save things to there. I like to use all of this because it's pretty easy. It's easier for me to track. It's easier for you to show me because honestly, if something happens, you can go back to the history in the Google Drive and you can see what happens. So now I can go over here. I can change the link sharings. Anybody with the link can edit. Share that, done. We're gonna redo this. I'm probably gonna have to make another one of these videos in the future, but for now this will do. All right, I'm gonna bring Killing Monsters. I have no idea what that was. Over here, I'm plopping in. And it didn't work the first time, so you want to make sure you do it right. Okay, I plopped it all over there. You should see something that says uploading one item. And there is the item, right? Making a Google document is not the same as putting something in the Google Drive. Understand that, because if you make a Google document and you share the Google Doc, it's not the same. I don't always get the emails, and truthfully, I am showing you right now what to do. It should be a lot easier now that I figured out how to make a video tutorial for everybody. Right? When in doubt, show up to class and hand something in. So now we're going to head over to Blackboard. And again, I'm guessing that the lag here is super fun for everyone, myself not included. Everything you should be able to see your class. I think we're just going to use, I don't know, whichever one I see first that says spring. Let's do this one. All right. Announcements, always check announcements. I usually do try to send an email copy as well as the one in Google in Blackboard, but sometimes it doesn't go through. Copies of the syllabus and the rules are right here. Down here, you're going to see course info assignments. This is the next most important one. All right. Anything you need is in here. Every single assignment that we have going forward for this class is in your assignments. It is listed on your syllabus for the due date, and it is in your assignments tab in Blackboard, which means if you know that you are going somewhere and you are going to be out of town or something or miss something, you still need to submit the work on time. Just like I'm preparing because I'm going to be out, you need to do the same. Essay grading matrix, thesis statement worksheet, we're going to go through everything. I do always review assignments before they're due to make sure there are no questions. Please, if you have a question and don't understand it, the day I go over it, ask me the question. If you have a question earlier than that because you're trying to get ahead on something, that's super awesome. Love the idea. Super big fan of planning. See me after class or during my office hours. But Professor Walsh, what are your office hours? Well, that is a good question, people. So my office hours are the same all the time. They are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12:15 to 2:05. I am literally in the computer lab in Auerbach for 2 hours twice a week. Please come. There's no reason not to. I'm really not that scary. I don't eat babies. I'm a decent human being when you talk to me. And you're having troubles, right? I have been running a writing class, writing club for kids with writing anxiety that sort of gives extra skills and extra tutorials. If you're interested in that, that does help you as far as extra credit is concerned because there is no other extra credit. The only extra credit I give is for people who come to writing club, and that is a commitment. You can't just show up once and never come back. There's a contract to sign, and you have to come every week unless you're sick or something. And the blog posts are extra credit. And there is one other super cool extra credit thing we do. And watching myself on video is creepy, just so you know. I will be using, as I have for a while, and you'll get invites, Classcraft. Okay? Classcraft seems weird and juvenile and dumb. But here is what I want you to take away from it, all right? It is a very clear explanation of what I expect from students during class time. So you will get an access, you'll get an access number, and then you'll be able to log in. And once you log in, again, slow internet is slow. Everybody can see sort of what you're doing in Classcraft. While it's related to your grade, it's not, the grade isn't, it's not the same as your grade, but you can see where your standing is in class and kind of have an understanding of what you're going to do. So, for example, I put people in teams. All right, class. So we have teams. Okay, the teams are only for classwork. I'm not a big fan of outside of class group work. It never worked well for me. A lot of people don't enjoy it, so I'm staying away from that. During class, usually it's about 5 to 10 minutes where I have you guys set up in your teams and talk about what we're going to do over the day. I have a list of questions that I want you to discuss with your teammates, and then we come back. The goal of this excuse me, is to get you into the swing of things, to get you ready for class, and to make sure that everything you're doing has meaning. So when you show up, I will show you sort of how we grade this. If you're in class, okay, everybody would be getting, I would look at the teams and I go around and I check and see that all the teammates are there. I click the apply to, I go over here to the little plus button and I click class project. You get 10 points for showing up to class. Good for you. I think I've changed these since the first time I did this, but I have to go look at it, and you can check it when I go to your class. All right. I have a series of behaviors that I think are really important. Coming to class and joking around and getting off topic doesn't do anybody any good. Coming to class, joking around, and staying on topic and making everything kind of relevant to what we're supposed to be doing totally helps everyone. It makes the environment more fun, it builds a sense of community, and everybody learns better. So for example, I ask a question and somebody gives me a one-word answer. All right, I'll give you 5 points for taking a risk. I like to reward people for trying at something. But even if that doesn't really seem like it was what I was going for, like I'm asking a definition that was in the readings or something like that, all right? And you just say, well, it's this. I'll be like, okay, You took a risk, I'll give you 5 points. If you say when you come into class, Professor Walsh, I didn't understand this section right here in the text. Can you go over it? On page 5, there's a paragraph, and I didn't really understand what this term was. Okay, that is asking a purposeful discussion question based on the text. That is something that I will totally give you 50 points for. Why? You're taking a risk, you're being curious, you want to learn. I think we can reward that. I think it's important to reward that. I'm talking about something and I ask a question and somebody raised their hand, well, I think the author was talking about, X, Y, and Z. That's okay. That gives you the 5 points for risk taking. I ask a question and you say, Professor Walsh, on page 5, here's a quote that's where the author has evidence that supports an answer that I want to give you. That is 60 points. Why is that 60 points? Because you are practicing the skill. When you go out into the workplace, a lot of the skills that I'm trying to teach you are the skills you're going to need to use there. So for example, if you're sitting in a business meeting and somebody wants to know information about, I don't know, a claim or a customer, you have to give them actual information from the reports you've been working on. You need to provide data. If you're just saying, I don't know, I think the customer was pretty angry, they're not going to like that. They want to say, okay, well, from the record, it looks like the customer called at 8 a.m. They were on the phone for half an hour. They didn't get their problem fixed, and they hung up. And then they called back again. And that's kind of what you want to be doing when you're doing classwork, because it's good preparation for outside of class. Bringing in appropriate resources that are outside resources, articles, television shows. You say, we were talking about science and science fiction, and we were talking about the Hulk, and here's this other show that I didn't know about. Here's Full Metal Alchemist. Or we're talking about, whether people should have a say in science. And you say, yeah, well, I think so, but look, here's this article that I read online, and it talks about how people don't know enough, or, they need to get more education and stuff like that. Perfect. That is a 75 XP, 75-point answer. And building on other students' responses purposefully. So student A says, on page 5, there's this quote. Student B says, and you know what? Oh my goodness. Over here on page 8 was something else that totally ties in. Okay, that is 100 points because you are keeping that conversation going. You are helping your classmates find more information. You're adding to the class discussion. And I think that's a really valuable experience for everyone in the room. Okay. So that's what happens. At the end of the semester, I basically go through here and I have some kind of map that I do that I have to review every year. I click on XP. I look at who has the most and who has the least. The top 3 people earn 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point extra on their grade at the end of the day. People are thrilled. What you can see down here is if you have somebody having 725 points and somebody who has like 50 or 90 points, there is a huge distance between those two. So even though I don't actually take attendance, I can tell who is like skipping classes a bunch, who is showing up all the time and participating, and who was kind of dialing it in by showing up and kind of being like, I'll sit in the back of the room and there you go, I participated, all right? There's different levels of participation. I understand that for some people, talking in a group is really hard. The thing is, out in the workplace, you have to do it. Bosses will call on you and ask you. If you're not helping, your team and your job, then, you're not performing your job well. So again, part of the reason for this is to sort of help people who are a little nervous understand that no matter what you do that's positive, you are getting credit for doing something positive. I like to reward positivity. I'm trying in my life to be a more positive person because my sarcastic nature doesn't lend me towards that normally. So I think that is pretty much everything you're going to need. Discussion board, if you haven't used it before, what you're going to see is I will create a forum. We might just call this writing approach questions. Okay, I'll submit it. Anytime you need to answer something, you click on this. I can create a thread. Just call it that for now. You would read this. There would have been something in it. Theoretically, you understand, you click reply, and you're done. Okay. Hopefully, this is enough to get you started so that by the time I come back to class, or whenever, we are good to go. Thank you. There will be a Google sheet that I'm sending. There will be a Google quiz thing that I send out. Everybody needs to respond to it. That'll be your 10 points for coming into class for the first day. That can be due on Thursday as well, hopefully by the end of class. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all in person.